What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is B1KER Channel. These two guys I got on the channel with me today apparently can't fucking follow directions. So, today's episode is going to be about starting a YouTube channel and kind of some of the things that you go through, maybe why and whatnot. And the guests that I have are JF Rides, whose real name is James, not Jeff, which is really fucking difficult. And I also have Mountain Bike Geek, who I don't really remember his real name right off the top of my head, but I'm also very bad with names. So, James, if you could introduce your channel, and then Mountain Bike Geek as well, and we'll go from there.
Yep, sounds good. So yeah, like Robert was saying, a lot of people call me Jeff, but it's James, and I run the JF Rides channel. Basically, just a channel where I basically go out, I do a lot of biking, and I share the adventure with you guys. So thanks for having me on, Robert. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm John, aka Mountain Bike Geek. I'm from Australia. I'm one of two really big. I'm not even really big yet. YouTubers from Australia that I know of that does mountain biking. I'm a type 1 diabetic who's blind in my left eye, and that's kind of my gimmick. So I run into trees and whatnot a lot with my left shoulder.
Well,
I really like to collect bikes.
There you go. Well, I also like to run into a lot of things, and unfortunately, I don't have the freaking excuse of being blind one eye. If you have the ability to pump up your volume on your mic just a little bit too, that'd be great. Aside from that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I think the very first thing when you're starting a channel that at least came to mind to me when I was thinking about what the hell I was going to ask you guys was, why do you even start your channel? So I think we'll just keep going in that same kind of direction here. And James, what was the reason that you started?
I mean, I think, when I first started this, probably, back in like 2008-ish, I just had a normal GoPro and slap that bad boy on my chest and go out and ride my bikes. And I just share the videos with my family and friends, and they'd give me a hard time, give me a bunch of shit. And, after a while, it's kind of weird because, people kind of latch onto those videos that you post out there in YouTube Wonderland, right? Where you think nobody else is going to see this stuff, but people actually do. And a lot of times they like, seeing the trails that you're riding or seeing the experience that you're having. And I just kind of caught on to that. And I just kept building, my videos off of that, that momentum. Like people were always commenting and like, that's a cool venue. I wish I could ride there. I'd love to see more. So it's like, even in John's case, like he rides in Australia. I love watching John's videos because I'm not in Australia. So that's kind of what got me going. I just like sharing the adventure, honestly.
I think that's really interesting because I think all three of us have different approaches of why we started our YouTube channels. And I think, John, I'll let you speak to yours, and then I'll go ahead and say something about mine as well. But I think you came from another platform, really, is what started yours, yes?
Yeah, well, I'm... a lot of people like to claim that I'm Insta famous, mainly because I have probably one of the largest non-repost Instagram channels available for mountain biking. Yeah, so it's I don't do what most mountain biking things on Instagram do, which is they find other people's posts and then repost them. No, I share some of my followers' stuff. I mostly go out there and do my own stuff and post that. And I made a promise to myself, I'm not going to be one of those repost channels. So, and then from there, I started making videos and things like that. And I was like, no, I should actually start making longer ones and putting them on YouTube. And so January of this year, I started my channel properly. And I'm now to like 1,400 subs or something like that. So I'm doing pretty all right, I reckon.
So James, basically, you started because you just wanted to have a medium to put your videos on. John, you started because you were already doing some social media stuff, and you wanted to essentially expand that and kind of do some larger or longer content. And for me, I had this idea originally where it was a website just for like kind of doing like documenting local rides so that I could, because there was a website that I had followed when I started riding mountain bikes around this area, and I just thought that that would be a good reason to like, or a good thing to do, because the guy that was running that website stopped. And when I started it, I actually was thinking about using YouTube for the website, but not the website for YouTube. So it was really just going to be like all like unlisted videos as far as YouTube went, and it was just going to be, you know, for me to put it on my website. And it wasn't until later, a few years later, because I have I'm very good at starting a lot of things. And so I had started the website and built 90% of it, and then kind of got lost in the learning how to edit phase. And then it wasn't until I started watching BKXE that I actually decided to start. So I think for you guys, this answer would probably, I think I kind of answered my second question as well. Like, how long from the time that you thought about starting the YouTube channel was it until you actually started the YouTube channel?
So, I mean, for me, like I said, I started, you know, just posting really randomly back in like 2008, you know, a video here, a video there. And I think up until probably like the last year, I mean, I think May of 2017 is kind of when I really started thinking, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this a little more regularly. I'm going to try to really build a theme and really just put myself out there for people to, you know, check out my videos. So I think, you know, over the last year, is really how, you know, when I started developing it. And honestly, I think, you know, a year later here I am, it's like 1,400, you know, subs, and, you know, social media's grown, and just, I've made a lot of friends, including you, Robert. You know, we came out, I rode with you. I think for me, you know, it started off with just posting videos, but really it just opened up this huge world of, you know, new relationships, new people, new places that I could ride and, you know, plan and organize with other riders to go out and ride. It opened up this whole new thing for me. And honestly, I have no regrets. I don't think I'm ever going to get rich off of YouTube, Robert, but, you know, being able to meet people like you and hang out, you know, it's been awesome. So I would say, you know, really within the last year is, you know, about when I really started to kind of kick it.
What I was asking though was like, so, and I think for you, because your approach was really so organic.
Yeah.
You know, for me, and it's funny because some of the questions that I wrote down, they're really based off of my experience. So it's interesting to have something like what you're saying was not actually even something I was really considering about when I wrote down a few questions all up 3 minutes before we started. But like for me, I was thinking, you know, like how much time was it between when you actually started thinking, and maybe there is a time frame for this for you as well, Joe, or James, God damn it. So like,
I'm John.
Yeah. So like from whenever you like actually started thinking like, hey, I'm gonna do this as a channel until the time that you actually started doing a channel. You know, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people will come up against. They'll start out with why. Why do they want to do this channel? Maybe they think they're gonna get notoriety, maybe they want to get free bike parts, maybe they want to make money, maybe they want to inspire people. Maybe they want to, you know, get over some, you know, weight issues or something like that. But so that's the first thing. We talked about that. But next, I think for everybody, you have this point when you start thinking about something and how long until you actually start it. And I think for some people, maybe they beat themselves up over that, you know? Like, hey, I started thinking about it for 3 fucking years before I actually did it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, Robert. So for me, like I had been thinking about doing a channel since probably about 2008, somewhere around in there. And just like, you know, of course, every, you know, thing in the book, like, do I really want to do this? Do I have time for this? Why would I do this? Yeah. But I mean, since 2008, and literally just within the last year or so, I mean, is when I kind of started just going full boat with it.
Yeah, so you were similar to me then. You actually sat on it for a while, but you had a channel and you were posting some videos here and there.
Right.
Got it. And then John?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I've had my channel running since 2007. I've sporadically uploaded videos like just some edits, things like that, you know, trying to get some creative juice flowing. And then really I only started putting effort into it since January this year, mainly for, I do have a lot of sponsorships and things like that. And just trying to get, you know, those brand names out there a bit more, encourage myself to get out and ride. Being a diabetic, I do need to exercise daily. And yeah, just a bit of encouragement for myself, a bit of encouragement for everyone else who happens to watch my videos and go, well, this guy's a slightly overweight diabetic with one eye, that he can do it. Why can't I?
Right. Definitely. So the next thing I think, and these are just kind of the ways that I kind of went through the thought process, was, you know, after you started this, or like in that planning phase, I think I'm one of those people that I get overly caught up in all the details. And because I've done some web design in the past, like I want everything to seem like it's been running for months before I get started. And I don't necessarily know if that's the right thing or not. And John, we talked about this a little for you already. My question was, did you start the social media first? Like, for me, I'm so worried about, if I start this website, I want to make sure I have the right name for my Instagram. I want to have the right name, the same name for my Twitter and my Facebook. And I want to make sure that, you know, so I'm like kind of tossing all of those things around. What kind of effort did you guys put into social media beforehand, if any?
You can start on this, James. See, I fall into the trap too.
Anyway, yes, social media.
Jeff, I need you. Might as well just read his fucking name now and get over it, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Social media came as like something, you know, that came after the fact. Because honestly, when I started the channel, that's all I was doing. I was just starting a channel. I didn't know about social media and that, you know, craziness. So like the whole social media thing came after. So the Facebook, you know, Twitter handle, Instagram kind of came as like, you know, just this extra avenue to kind of get the word out. So yeah, for me, no, it came after producing videos. You know, I'm kind of older school, so a little bit of an older guy. So social media wasn't really something that I used a whole lot. You know, but I've been trying to grow it. And it's a cool, you know, extra outlet to kind of share your videos with, for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I had actually started my Instagram before I even considered going anywhere near any of the other social media stuff. My Instagram then somehow, because I thought, well, you know what, I'll start a Facebook page. And I linked my Instagram up to that. And next thing you know, my Facebook page has got nearly 20,000 followers on that. And there's like, oh, well, I'll get into Twitter. And Twitter is very hard to break into. I'll say that. It's got like 800 followers on that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I started my Instagram, my Facebook page, and my Twitter account all the exact same time. And my numbers aren't like yours on Instagram, but I have like 1,600 followers on Instagram, about half of that on Facebook, and then like 15 on Twitter. So it's definitely, and I think that's something that people should think about personally. And now that you guys have some experience, maybe you'll agree with me or disagree with me. But I think that considering what you are going to be trying to do by starting a channel, you can't come into it and say, I'm not going to do social media. I mean, you can, and you can be successful, but those other venues with communicating to your subscribers really pick up the slack in places that YouTube doesn't. And I think for me, the key one was Instagram and Facebook, because it gives me a venue where I can shout out to those people and talk to those people very easily, and I can instant message with them very easily, and it's easier than email and stuff like that. And it also gives some additional content, you know. And so for those of you that are watching or listening at home, like, you don't necessarily, like when I'm posting to Instagram, there's a little button on there that's linked to my Facebook page and that's linked to my Twitter. So it just goes to all 3 platforms all at once. And what that allows you to do, though, is, like I said, is YouTube has a functionality where you can just like send out like kind of text and a link and a picture kind of thing. But you can't get that until you hit 10,000 subscribers, which could be a very long time. How do you guys feel about what I'm saying?
It's very accurate, to be honest.
James?
Yeah, I mean, I think, here's the thing. So we're at that point where we're trying to grow our channels, right? And I mean, we're out there producing content. We want people to view it. And I think what it kind of comes down to is not everybody's on YouTube. There's so much social media, right? Not everybody's on YouTube. Not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody's on Instagram. And so we, if we want to continue to grow and share and get more viewers and, things like that, we have to kind of, embrace all of it. So it's like, if you're not on Twitter with your 20 handles, nobody's seeing you on Twitter. So, yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's just like, yeah, if we're going to be out there, you're going to be social, it's like we kind of have to embrace it, whether or not it's growing or not. I think in the end, it'll pay off, as far as, gaining a community there. But, yeah, in the beginning, I never considered half of them. I didn't know about Instagram when I started this. I didn't really know what Twitter was. And really, I had a Facebook account, a personal one. So, now I have a plethora of accounts, but I mean, it's necessary at this point. Yeah, it's an extra tool for communication anymore. You have to be on there.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the key thing that you said there too is that not everybody's on all those platforms. So it definitely makes a difference there. That some people aren't going to be on YouTube, or some people, like if I want to say, hey, everybody, I'm going to go ride in Rockville, this local place on Friday. I don't have the ability to shout that out to YouTube without doing a whole video. And then not everybody that's in my area that's on my, not even everybody that's on my channel. You would think that like, hey, I have this channel, I have this many subscribers, I should instantly be able to have that or equal to that on social media. And that's not the case either.
Exactly.
So, then you may have just a small number of people on that Instagram side and then another small amount on the Twitter or the Facebook. So even with that, I'm still only hitting, if I'm sending out that blast, so to speak, I'm still only hitting like 2,000, 2,500 people. It's like half of my subscribers. And I would imagine I have a handful of people, a fair amount of people on Instagram that don't even follow me because of YouTube.
Well, that kind of explanation, that's very similar to my story. I have on YouTube like 1,400 subscribers, right? Instagram, I've like 90,000 plus. I'll put out
your audio.
What's that?
Your audio is kind of coming back through.
Oh.
James?
Yeah. So, Robert, too, this camera that you have it on right now, it's a little bit blurry. It looks like it might have a thumbprint on there or something. But
yeah, I'm working on that.
But yeah, listen, I mean, we're out there trying to, share what we're doing, and we want everybody to be involved. And if I want to put together a group ride, yeah, I have to be on all of it, because the same subscribers that I might have on Instagram don't necessarily follow me on YouTube. And so, I mean, that's just the reality, of kind of doing this video game on YouTube is, trying to get out there through as many venues as it can, to kind of build the biggest community that you can. I think that's, it's ultimately the point. So, who knows what comes down the pike next? I mean, we can go back to Friendster or something from, 2000. Who knows, what's going to happen? But I'm embracing it. Listen, like I said in the beginning, I mean, it's that extra avenue where I get to meet a lot of people that I necessarily wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet. And I love it. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, I've had group meetups, rides, things.
Yeah, your audio is just hammered right now, John. You're whatever you're doing.
So, Robert, what are you drinking tonight?
Actually, I will tell you. a sad story. I'm drinking water because yesterday I rode up in North Lake Tahoe, and the trail that I rode on was extremely dusty. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I breathed in too much of that dust. And last night, all night long, I really couldn't sleep very well because I was just like, I sound like an 80-year-old guy if I exhale really, really. So either that, or I must have maybe in like sleep smoked like 100 packs of cigarettes. So there's a possibility that might happen too. You know, I was drinking yesterday, so who knows? I also can only sit in this garage for so long until I open a beer. There's like this mystical force that comes off my beer fridge that is like, hey, you shit bag, get over here and drink my beers. So,
all right. Yeah, I didn't know if you just totally quit. This is the first time I've seen Robert without a Coors or Coors Light in your hand. So I was worried.
Right.
But hydration is
I should have just lied to you and been like, oh yeah, no, I drink beer with a straw. Don't worry about it.
Hey, at least you went with the metal straw there, right? Because plastic straws are about to be illegal.
Oh yeah, especially here in California, you could lose an arm for having a plastic straw. So, excuse me.
Just looking at the YouTube stream, apparently Brian Vaughan says that you have an echo, Rob, and apparently I'm very quiet.
Well, you sound good now.
Hey, this is the Jeff live stream anyway.
Yeah, I think what he's saying though, John, is basically I'm the echo, but it's coming off of yours. When your camera gets focused, you can hear me talking like a second behind or something like that.
Huh, weird, because I've got my laptop muted and I'm using my iPad.
Weird.
Maybe it's James that has the echo.
We'll blame it on somebody else.
Yeah.
All of us blame it on somebody else.
I'll take one for the team.
That's the IT thing there, though, isn't it? It's always the best thing to blame someone who's not there.
Yeah.
So let's blame like Eric or Bobo or something.
We'll just blame Brian Vaughn.
Yeah, it's definitely Brian Vaughn. Now, I do think it's on John's side because it seems like it's only when he has focus is whenever it's going through. So knowing how great I am on freaking doing live streams and fucking them all up, I think this is status quo. So
Fair enough.
So Robert, what got you creating? I mean, your channel. Like, what got you doing your channel full on?
Really, it was. Oh man, that's killing me. Really, is just man. Let's see what I can do here. Let me. I'm on mute, John. There we go. Nope, it's not John. Son of a bitch. Unmute him. We're gonna go over James. James, you're muted. Don't hear it anymore. Hey, John.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guess
No,
the fucking silent guy over there pretending like he's got his shit taken care of. It was James.
in your face, James.
All right. So let's see if I can get through this. Maybe James can turn his volume down or something so it doesn't pick up as much. For me, really starting the channel or really starting the content, it was really just watching BKXE and watching it all kind of come together. So for me, I think that I started the website biker.com, and what really stopped me from getting started was the editing curve, we'll call it that, which is just learning how to edit. And once again, like I said to you guys earlier, I really have that ability of overcomplicating something simple. And instead of using like a simple editor, maybe something that like what GoPro puts out, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I need to learn this like fucking movie making level editing software like Adobe Premiere. And I actually tried some other ones and that have all these bells and whistles. And really what that did when I was creating the website, which would have essentially started B1KER's YouTube channel back then. I mean, I would have been a fucking couple of years ahead of the game, actually. I would have been before, I could have been Seth, you know, but instead I just got so sucked up in learning how to edit that I ended up just recording and recording and recording. And I hear a lot of guys do this as well when they're thinking about starting, and you just get into this habit of you're collecting footage, but the editing process becomes so daunting that you end up just like, you know, handbagging a bunch of footage.
Yeah.
So
I'm currently in that situation right now. I have a ton of footage I can use. I just cannot come up with a decent idea for a video. I need to start scripting before I ride, damn it.
James?
Yeah. So John just, I mean, said like, you know, the whole scripting thing is kind of interesting. So it's like, I've never done that, you know, with my channel when I first started. It was literally just POV and me out there, you know, riding my bike. I didn't go out there with a storyline. The storyline was me riding the bike. So it's funny that John says that, because that seems to be kind of a trend now. It's like people are, you know, starting to kind of script out, you know, okay, here's what we're going to do today. Here's what we're going to see. Here's some of the characters that or people that we're going to introduce in these videos. And there's a bigger thought process to the whole, you know, video itself, which is something that I wouldn't have considered, you know, back when I started this a year ago. So I think the dynamics are kind of changing with the channels a little bit. I think you're starting to see a little more scripting, and I think that's kind of a cool thing because it's a little more organized.
Yeah, for sure. And pretty much off the back of the conversation we're having right now, for people who want to start their own channel, break into it, my next video, I actually do have an idea. I just need to finalize and get editing. Is what is the best way to film your rides? Is it via gimbal or a 360 camera or what? And I'm going to be basically going into in-depth. What's the easiest way of doing it?
All right, now I'm gonna mute friggin' Jeff every time I don't want to hear him talk anymore. Which is gonna be difficult because then anytime he wants to talk, he's gonna be screwed.
Yeah, and for anyone wondering, the bike I'm currently leaning on, this is my hardtail. I've slapped some DVO on it. I like to tell people this is where Brian's DVO went.
So I kind of lost my train of thought there, kind of screwing around with Jeff here and his mic issues. So what I wanted to talk about next though was, so we talked about social media. Next is like, once you start that channel, how do you go about promoting it? I know what I did, and I'm actually interested to hear what Jeff has, or James. God damn it. James, what do you have to say about that? Looks like he's muted still.
You have to unmute yourself, James.
I think I muted him.
You did. Okay.
There he is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was happening with the audio there, but anyway, I'm sorry. What was the question, Robert? Because I couldn't hear you.
Basically, I think what's going on is maybe your mic's turned up too much, like the sensitivity. If you're on Windows, you can turn the mic down a little bit and you'll probably be okay.
I'm going to do that right now.
But basically, what we were asking, and I'll let John go ahead and talk, because obviously his answer is going to be a little more on the obvious side. But what is the process that you went through to promote your channel once you decided you were going to start doing it?
Mine is, as you said, very obvious. I had the platform on Instagram and Facebook to get it out to the world and show off, look, this is my channel, here, go sub, etc. Now, there's one phenomenon that I've noticed, that promoting things via Instagram and all that is people will go and watch your video, but they won't subscribe. So you have to keep pushing it and pushing it. Subscribe to my channel, please. Like my videos, everything like that. You see it in every YouTube video nowadays, pretty much, is sub to my channel, like the video, etc., etc. And it's mainly because you have to remind people, otherwise they just do not.
Yeah, you know, and I have a really hard time with that personally, because I hate listening to other people talk about, you know, like my channel, subscribe, like my channel, subscribe. It gets really fucking annoying. So I try to only do that on like my like updates or something like that. But outside of that, so when you were promoting when you started your channel, did you just kind of just blast it on your Instagram and that's it? Like,
yeah, Instagram stories, IGTV, Instagram posts, Facebook posts, Twitter, you name it. Like, I've even got a Tumblr page that's got like 1,600 followers on that as well. I promote it across everything, in the hope that that I can get people to come and sub to my channel and watch, and because I'm getting like between 5,000 and 10,000 views per video kind of thing. But I'm seeing very little action on the like button or on the subscribe button, and yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, because you have you know, like you said earlier, around 1,500 subscribers,
yeah,
about 90,000 plus on Instagram, and then you're getting about 10,000 views. For me, when I first started for promoting the channel, it really came down to me. I used any kind of mountain biking forum that I chatted on. And I think that's the key part to that is don't just join some forum and start spamming it. I mean, you have to make conversation. You have to make sure that you're putting videos in the places where they should be. The same thing goes with Reddit. I went to Reddit and I would post my videos there. I would talk about them there in different various channels. I use the Instagram and the Facebook, but honestly, Instagram and Facebook, those accounts were set up for me just for the channel, so they really didn't have any kind of following other than what I had for the channel. So those people were really getting notified already by me just from posting on YouTube. And I think that's really kind of, you know, what I went. Oh, and the other thing that I did that I think is really important as well when you first start is I was on like every fucking live stream that any one of the big YouTubers was on, and I was chatting on it and commenting on all their videos, because then like if you have an icon or something that people can remember that sticks out, and I know BKXC's talked about this before too, then people remember that, and that's how then they start seeing you as part of the community. And whenever those other creators start seeing you a lot, then they'll mention you, and in that process, that starts to give you some traction as well. People will start looking at what you got. How about you, James? Oh, I think I still got you muted.
There we go. So I just unmuted. So yeah, I mean, for me, you know, I started just targeting. So I mean, it's great that you're like, you know, trying to post it out there on the social medias, but I kind of started targeting social media by like finding the local mountain bike groups on social media. So for me, it's like, you know, Front Range Mountain Biking Facebook group, those type of things, and just kind of trying to hit the community that was around me, that maybe want to see some of the newer trails or that type of thing. And I think, you know, that kind of built a little bit of a response. You know, just trying to keep it a little more isolated. And like you said, it's like you don't want to be spammy about it. So it's like you really kind of have to whittle down, you know, how and where you're posting that stuff. So even on Reddit, you know, you could post to a bunch of different huge groups that have, you know, 500,000 subscribers or something. But really it was like trying to find those smaller groups that, you know, related a little more to what maybe you were doing or what trail you're riding that day or those type of things, locales, that type of thing.
Definitely. I think I think the key thing, I guess I'm gonna have to mute him. James, you're never invited.
I've been invaded by a dog. It's
all right. So anyways, I think the key thing, oh wow, I forgot to change my camera. I just look at my belly. So I think the key thing though is like what he said and I mentioned earlier is just don't get on there and start spamming. Because if you're looking at these other platforms and just spamming the shit out of people, they're going to dismiss you real quick. And the internet can be an ugly place. Whenever one person decides to be an asshole, it can start like an avalanche of asshole. And next thing you know, you just got a whole bunch of people just ganging up on you, and it doesn't feel good. So I think the next thing that kind of comes in that one of the other key fundamental parts of making a channel is the editing process. And as I said myself, man, that's what really, I mean, I think for most of us, that's probably the thing that makes or breaks you. Either A, you're good at it, or you're not, or B, it's so hard to learn, or C, it just becomes so fucking daunting. You know, I think that that is, in my opinion, the hardest part of starting a channel.
For sure.
What was your editing story? How did you get into editing, and Jonathan, and like how did you go about it to learn?
First, I really started editing with like the GoPro free software. And then when I started using all the Garmin cameras, I just started using the Garmin software. And then I realized, hang on, like this does the job, but it's not the greatest. So I tried out the DaVinci Resolve software that Lone Ranger likes to rabbit on about for decades to come. That was decent, but it didn't do what I wanted it to do. So I started playing around with Adobe. And unfortunately, there is an outlay of cost with Adobe. You really have to be prepared to get into it before you even think about purchasing it.
Yeah, I don't know what it equates to in Australian dollars, but I think if you're using more than 2 apps in the States for the Creative Cloud, like you can buy 1 app at a time. I think it's like $20 a month. But if you're using more than 2 apps, then you can get the whole suite, and that's about $60 a month. So for most of us, you're probably using at least 2 apps, so you're almost there.
Photoshop, Lightroom, and Premiere Pro.
Right.
That's like $180 a month.
Oh wow, Australian.
Yeah.
Good Lord. How about James? What did you start with?
Yeah, so I initially just started with a MacBook Pro and iMovie. So it was literally just, trying to figure out, the simplest of the simple, platforms that were free, and trying to build on that. And I think, there are some limitations, but I think, you can kind of start with the basics. You can start with freeware, whatever it is. Even the GoPro software nowadays isn't too bad for somebody just starting off that just wants to start putting out videos. And then you just kind of work your way up. I mean, if money, kind of allows you to do that, or if you have access to the better software, I'd say go for it. I currently use Adobe Premiere, and there is so much to that program. It could probably take a lifetime, being a professional editor to learn all that stuff. But it does help. But I think iMovie is where I started off, and I think anybody who's starting a channel could easily use that. You could use Windows Movie Maker. I think is still okay on a cheaper, just beginner level. And then the DaVinci Resolve again, like John had mentioned, there's a few people out there in the YouTube realm that really just swear by that software. I used it a couple times. It's not bad. It's freeware, and it has a lot of advanced features that most people may or may not use, but for starting a channel, sure, just start with the basics. You don't have to go into this, dumping, $1,000 on a piece of software. Just keep it fun. Start with the cheapest or whatever you have available, and go from there.
Yeah. That's exactly what where I was going with what I was saying is, if you don't have money to burn, then investigate some of the freeware options. DaVinci Resolve is pretty much perfect for everything. As I said, I only moved on to Adobe Premiere because DaVinci didn't have exactly what I wanted. So I moved on. But if I couldn't afford the outlay for Premiere Pro and Photoshop and all that, then yeah, I would still be using DaVinci. It is a great program, and for the fact that they offer it free, yeah.
The very first thing I started using was the Windows Movie Maker, which I don't know is still available for Windows 10. I don't think it works in Windows 10, but
I don't think so.
That was a really easy program to learn how to like just be able to like. It just was really simple to use, and to keep things very simple with that, it was a great program. I'm actually kind of sad to say that it's not there anymore, because I think even even like the GoPro program, I think goes in with like this mindset of you are a video editor, and although they've dumbed it down, they definitely didn't do as good of a job as that team from Microsoft did on the Movie Maker. I can't speak to the Mac at all for the people that are talking about Final Cut Pro. I ultimately I did use DaVinci. That was one that I downloaded, because what I did was when I started my channels, I got online and I typed in, free video editors, and then started reading around. And I think that one came up because they were like, oh, this program freaking, was used to make these Tarantino films and this and that. And I was like, okay, well, if these guys are making these like Hollywood blockbuster films with this shit, it must be good for me. And then I loaded that program. I started trying to use it, but it was just like, it was like the best way I could explain it is like getting into the cockpit of an airplane, and you see all these fucking dials and knobs and like blinky lights, and you don't know what the fuck any of them mean. And you're like, all I want to do is push the gas button down, like I just want to go, and so in the process of trying to find videos on YouTube to show me how to do shit on DaVinci, I would look up, or I would like be searching like, how do you do a transition or something like that, and all this Adobe shit would come up. And at that point I was like, look, if I want to use one of these technical programs, it seems like there is more knowledge on the Adobe product out there for me to learn from than it was for anything else. And that's kind of why I ended up leaning towards the Adobe Premiere Pro to edit with. I think I want to answer one of the users' questions that I saw pop up, and I think that it would be interesting to hear you guys' takes as well. They were asking, what do I do first? And I'll tell you, this is funny. And I think this guy actually may be like really, I can't remember if I saw this before I started my channel, but I want to say that I did. And it was one of those things that freaking kind of stuck with me. And it was one of these videos that Jordan Boostmaster was doing. And he does a lot of videos about editing and recording and stuff. And he said that the number one thing to start your channel is just to start your channel. And it's really the truth. Like, you will be able to beat yourself up over it, and you'll try to get this edit to be perfect, and you'll never get that. You'll never get that. I've been doing this for now, a year and a half, or maybe longer. I don't even know. And I'm still never happy with any of my edits. So like you have, the only way though that you're going to learn is by just starting it. And if you continue to like try to get this refined product, it won't happen. And you just need to go out and fucking jump in the pool to learn how to swim. I don't know. How about you, James?
Yep. So yeah, I totally agree. I mean, like, I've never been somebody that, got weaned into anything. I mean, everything in my life is pretty much, right out of the frying pan and into the fire type of thing. So it's like, I said I want to start my channel, back in 2008. It was always an idea, blah, blah, blah. And I sat on top of it. But really, had I just started it back in 2008, we talked about it earlier. It's like, I could have 1 million subscribers by now. I could, be Casey Neistat. I don't think I'm that charismatic, but I mean, if you want to do it, don't wait. Just do it. That's what it's all about. I mean, I think if you're out there trying to create a YouTube channel, it's because you care about what you're doing. You're into whatever it is that you're videoing, and you'll learn as you go. And I mean, the thing is, this community is so close. I mean, we're not huge, especially the mountain biking community on YouTube, that once you start doing it, it's like they're friends, and everybody's willing to kind of share their experience or their knowledge. And and bring you up to speed, or, you know, you guys can learn things together. I think you just got to do it.
Yep. Just pull the trigger. Even if you don't have a camera yet, like a GoPro or anything, you've got a phone. Phone's got a camera on. Get out there, have a tripod, have fun, film some bits of you riding, slap it together in one of the free programs, stick it on YouTube. Just get it out there. The moment you start, you're going to find someone who finds it interesting and will go, you know what? I like what this guy's doing. I'm going to follow it.
My first subscriber that wasn't my friend, which was like my second subscriber. I think I got one buddy to actually subscribe to my channel. Then I walked around my house and talked all kinds of shit to everybody. And then my second subscriber actually was MTB Savant, you know, which is funny because he has a pretty big channel now. And even at that point, I think he had like 400 or 500 subscribers. But I mean, it was just a matter of putting a video out and somebody searching for something. You know, maybe it came up because I was using some tags, or maybe it came up because really there wasn't a whole shitload of mountain bike videos at that time either, you know, and somehow or another it started growing. One of the things that I want to mention too that you said, and if somebody on the chat said, you know, that the best camera to use is the one you have, and that is dead on. I know Trail Features has done a video on using your cell phone. And I can tell you guys as well, like somebody else is like, oh, you have to have a gimbal. No, you don't. You don't have to have a gimbal. You could use your cell phone and make some pretty sick videos. You could, if you do have a GoPro, you could wear that. I would say that if you're starting out and you don't have a gimbal, if you're using POV video, use it in very short, like bursts, you know? So it would be like only a few seconds of this, or then, you know, have your camera in different spots. So it's like, oh, you could mount it on your fork. You could mount it on your headset. You could mount it behind your camera, or I'm sorry, behind your seat post or something like that, and move forward with it that way. Like, you don't necessarily have to spend all this money on extra equipment like the gimbal and whatnot to actually make a successful channel. Like, honestly, for the most of my channel, aside from the gimbal, like, I've really used the GoPro for almost everything. And most of these other channels, they're all using like separate cameras for any time that they're doing, you know, like more of the, you know, just chatting to the camera kind of stuff, you know, and I don't necessarily know if you need to overcomplicate it, especially at the beginning. And as you go on, it'll be what it is. It looks like we also had a late comer here. So excuse me.
But yeah, off the back of the camera thing, see this? This is all you really need. Tripod, camera mount, phone.
All right, so Eric from Near Front Brakes just showed up. Eric, we were talking about, hang on, somehow I got this thing where it's not switching now when I talk. What we're talking about is just, you know, when people first start, not necessarily needing to purchase, you know, a camera, all the camera gear and the gimbals and stuff like that. And we just got done talking about editing. I think the next thing is that, how realistic do you guys think your idea of making money on YouTube was before you started your channel? Eric, I'll go ahead and let you start.
I don't know that I've ever had that idea. Of course, it would be nice to break even. But even now, I'm still not doing that. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's like the end goal. That would be nice. But if I was shooting for that every month, I would be pretty distraught because I'm not coming anywhere near it as of right now.
So I think what I'm asking though is, like, did you think that making money was going to be a little easier when you started?
I see. Yeah, I think I did. I thought that, you know, I would just put out a few videos and eventually something would just go like viral or something, and then I don't know. You always have preconceptions of like what something's going to be like. But it doesn't help that the bar keeps changing as well.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, like, I remember that I was like watching, I forget what it used to be. I don't even remember. That's how bad it is. They used to have a bar. I think it was like you needed 100 subscribers or something. I don't remember what it was, but to monetize you, there was a bar, and then they changed it in like February or so.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And then it went up to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours watched, which is 240,000 minutes. That's insane. That's more YouTube than I might have ever watched. I don't know. So yeah, it was hard to hit that again. I mean, and now it's on a revolving status. I think I'm okay. I think most of us are actually okay. We'll hit that every month, like as I forget what that's called. It's like an annually revolving thing. But that makes it tough though to like.
I think that YouTube, when they made that I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But I think when they made that bar, they actually made it pretty obtainable by that many subs. I think right at 1,000 to 2,000, you should be hitting probably that much watch time if you're doing at least a video a week.
Yeah.
And so I think that it sucks that they did change that. But on the other hand, I think that to make a very long story short, it seems like the main reason they did that was to stop fake channels from monetizing and popping up and burning.
Well, yeah.
And I think
I get why they did it too. They did it to get rid of like those like pop-up overnight channels that are like basically copying other people's stuff and then making a bunch of money before they get banned or whatever. Right. So I get it, but it's hard for like people like us that work our butts off if you say this is my thing that I'm shooting for, and then it changes while you're trying to get there. So that can be a little frustrating. I mean, we'll see how this plays out long term, but so I get why they did it. It's just it's tough.
I understand what you're saying. I definitely had a little taste of that when I started my channel. The live streaming came out, and it was like you couldn't do live streaming and have the super chats until you hit 1,000 subscribers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, just like, oh man, I just was so excited to do live, and I couldn't wait to get to there. And it was like a couple of days before I hit 1,000, they changed it to let anybody do it. And I was like, you bastards! It was kind of opposite of what you're saying, but I was like, dude, I fought to get there. And then I got there, and you guys made it like, oh, that's for everyone now. John, how about you?
Yeah, no,
I think I'll go ahead and speak again just while you think about what you're saying. Like, for me, I definitely thought that there was going to be a little bit more residual income initially. And I also severely underestimated how much work it was to run a channel. I would say it took me so YouTube, the way that it works is like you get some money from the ads, right? That people are watching, and you have to make like a Google account, and that account has to get to $100 before you get a check. And I think for me, it was like at least 6 months until I got that first $100 check. That 6 months of like, I was like probably working almost a full-time job on my channel. Like literally, like if I wasn't working on building my website, I was working on building marketing materials. I was working on editing. I was working on driving. I was working on like it was an insane amount of work for $100. How about you, James? What do you think?
Yeah, so hopefully you guys can hear me, but
go ahead.
So listen, I mean, the pipe dream of making a lot of money off of YouTube, right off the bat it's probably not going to happen. I mean, if you're not doing it for the love of what you're doing, YouTube is probably not for you. But if you're in it for the long term, sure, you can kind of make it work. It can be a residual form of income, but you're not going to make a lot right off the bat. It's just not going to happen unless you're BKXC. And I think, I'm sure it probably took those guys some time to start making money too. But I think, what it kind of boils down to is, trying to find sponsors or people who are interested in what you're doing that might have products or things that they're willing to share with you that you can share with your community to kind of, offset that. I think there's different ways to make money with YouTube for sure.
I'm pretty sure Brian said that it was about a year and a half into his channel and Patreon and everything before he actually started breaking even.
Yeah, I know. I had a conversation with Brian about that once. And because I had asked him, I was like, do you think you kind of like sandbagged people a little bit? Because he quit his job at 5,000 users. And I think what he did was not necessarily that he was sandbagging people, but I think he didn't talk about it as much as he thought he was, because at least that's what I got out of the conversation I had with him. Because he was like, no, dude, I was telling people I was using my savings. I was like, yeah, but they were really caught up in the story of, dude, you just quit your job and now you're flying into here or you're going to there. And they're like, dude, he's got to be making like freaking money. He quit his freaking job,
Yeah, no, he was definitely blowing through his savings. That's for sure.
So somebody said a minute ago, and I have that on my list of things to say it or to chat about as well, is products and endorsements. So I know one of my goals when I started my channel was not to quit my job. And as I started my channel, man, that idea of actually just doing this all the time actually became something that man, I would like to strive for. But I also know that is like very far-fetched idea for me and where I live and what my financial responsibilities are as a person. And and I think that what I was getting at though was one of the things that I was like, man, if I could make enough money to get like some of the parts that I buy anyway for free, that would be cool. Or even yet, if I could get some of those parts for free. Once again, it's not like you get a YouTube channel and you get 1,000 subscribers and you just like send an email and you freaking got a product. How about you, Eric, since you're new here tonight? How long was it for you? Because I know you had a little bit of a different circumstance than it was for maybe some of us until you could get, some endorsements.
Yeah, I know whenever I talk to you guys, I always feel like because of my hand, for those of you that don't know my channel, I always feel like whenever I put together some sort of like business proposal to email a company, or whenever I apply for a like pro program, I always feel like I kind of have a, I guess, leg up, hand up, whatever arm joke you want to make.
So just so those of you that may be listening while you're commuting or something like that, Eric is from the channel called No Front Brakes, and he's also missing his right arm. Right. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. It's from about a little bit below the elbow down is gone. So
yeah. Now, not just that, but I've ridden with Eric. We rode in Austin and out at Reveille Peak Ranch in Texas. For having just one arm, he shreds, man. He is an absolute shredder. And I am actually very honored to be able to have ridden with him, because it showed me just how much in your head it is to say, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. You can do anything you damn well please. Trust me.
I guess it goes well to speaking with, the channel that we're talking about, getting started. So what I was getting at with Eric though is you actually somebody reached out to you pretty initially.
Yeah.
Prosthetic, and that kind of kicked things off for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was riding without one and my back was hurt all the time, and I was just like showcasing local trails, not really like traveling a bunch. And a friend of a friend basically put me in touch with the guy that helped me out with my prosthetic. So that really changed everything for me.
So from there, was it easy for you to get sponsors and product sponsors and things of that nature?
Well, I would say that it was easy for me to progress at riding. And then because I was getting better at riding and riding like gnarlier stuff and actually starting to ride super chunky, challenging trails, it was easier for me to enter races and start racing. And then once I raced a few races, then it was easier for me to just be like, hey, look, random company A, I wear your stuff all the time. This is what I do. I don't place very well in my like bracket, but I'm the only person with a prosthetic that's enduro racing that in my area. Do you guys have a program or something like that? So
right. So like for me, I can say that, you know, I have over 5,000 subscribers at this point, and me reaching out to companies is really I would say my hit rate is like 1 out of like 25 that I've reached out to actually will get back to me and maybe lead to something. For most of my most of the stuff that you guys have seen me either give away on my channel or companies that I've worked with, like this hand up hat, that is from actually meeting somebody in person. That's where that's the only way that I've really been able to kind of drive those relationships home. Whereas James, I believe that you're doing pretty well with getting companies to send you some endorsements. At what point do you guys feel like that was like allowed? Like to me, I thought like I couldn't even really reach out to a company until I had like at least 2,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was literally just, you know, I think that the saying, and I don't know who said it, is like, you know, think globally, act locally. So, you know, it was literally me just, you know, probably at, you know, a couple hundred subs when I thought, you know, hey, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be who I am and put my videos out there. And I start off with just the local places, like, you know, my local bike shop, the people who were there normally. I've been doing business with them for a long time, and you just told them, hey, you know, I'm out there, I'm going to start doing this online. And, you know, if you guys are interested, you know, I'd love to have your help and I'd love to support you. And that's really where I start off. You know, probably about, you know, for me, 300 or 400, you know, subs, you know, which kind of I gathered over a couple months. And then, you know, I felt, you know, like I had a little momentum. So that's kind of when I just started reaching out. And I mean, honestly, it's like anything in life. If you're not the squeaky wheel, you know, you're never going to get any attention. So you kind of, I mean, if you're going to do it, just go after it. Don't worry about it. I mean, just, you know, put yourself out there, be who you're going to be. People are going to like you or they're not going to like you. That's the way life is. And that's my approach. It's like, you know, I'm out there, I'm willing to represent something that, you know, a product that I like and I use, and I would love to put your name on my videos. And most people are receptive, I think.
Yeah, well, as the saying goes, what's the worst that they can say? No.
Robert, the one thing that you and I think I was talking about it with you like just a couple weeks ago is, and for anyone that has like a smaller channel that might only have a couple hundred subs or whatever, if you're really interested in a company and you really like their products and you like their bikes or whatever they have, whatever their product is, if you just reach out to them early, even if they don't respond, the fact that you reach out to them and give them your numbers at that point in time, even if they don't respond, they know your name and they have your stats. Think about in 3 months down the road, let's say you grow by 1/3 or something, and you email them again. You're telling a story of your growth, and you're telling a story of your determination, and that you're serious about the channel and you're serious about riding bikes. When you reach out to them again, they're going to remember you. They're going to see your growth. They're going to know that you're serious about it, and they're going to be more willing to work with you. And that's the way I looked at it. I started reaching out when I was at like 300, 400 subs, just same as James. And when you can say, hey, I've tripled in size in the last 6 months, like that's big. That's big. These are marketing people. They want to spend their marketing dollars with someone who is on the up and up.
I think it's key to what he just said there too, is like, I think about those emails that you send, kind of like sending out your resume. Like you can say, I tripled my size, and you may not be proud of yourself for being, you know, 1,500 subscribers at that point maybe, but dude, you tripled your size. if you sent them initially at 500, that is what it is, you know? And so, and maybe that's the sentence that starts out that gets them to read the next two. You know what I mean? So you definitely have to be intelligent about how you do that. And I think that anybody starting now, or even maybe starting 2 years from now in the mountain bike YouTube space, they do have the privilege of following behind a bunch of other people kind of paving that way, you know? And so like a lot of companies, you know, a couple of years ago, let's just say before even like, you know, Seth and BKXE were part of this, you know, genre, they were definitely, you know, not keen to social media presence and supporting them. And as this community grows, then that will become more and more, you know, something that they understand, you know. But also, it may also make it harder for you to get in, because then they're going to be like, hey, there's these other guys that have been at it for a while. So there's like a pro and a con to it in both scenarios. I think the next thing I really wanted to bring up was challenges. Like, and we'll just go down the list here, and I'll shout you guys out. So for me, the biggest challenge was learning how to edit. It really, really was. That is what set me back initially by years. And if it wasn't for that challenge, I would have started, like I said, you know, years ago. I think that everybody has their own challenge. Some people's challenges maybe not being able to feel like they can be comfortable in front of the camera, or, you know, not feeling like they can tell a story. So how about you, James? What was one of your challenges when you started?
Yeah, so for me, Robert, I mean, I think, you know, you actually kind of nailed one of my early, you know, issues with putting out videos was the anxiety of, you know, wondering what's everybody going to think about, you know, this random guy out there, you know, putting videos out there. Like, who am I to be out, you know, on YouTube? And really, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I liked what I was doing, and I really wanted to share it. And I thought, you know, finally, you know, I'm just going to put this stuff out there. And like I was saying earlier, it's like, you know, there's always going to be a naysayer. There's always going to be somebody in life that's telling you, you can't, or you shouldn't, or blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Like, I just put my videos out there. And I think that was, you know, my biggest challenge was jumping over that hurdle and getting that first video out there and really standing behind it and sharing it, you know, through social media and other things. And I got a great response, and I think that's kind of what kept that momentum going for me. Is like, okay, you know, this is something doable, and people do enjoy watching it. So there's something to offer here.
Challenges for me, not so much the editing. Working in IT, I can get my head around any real program. I think the biggest challenge for me is time management. I can procrastinate with the best of. I really need to get down and say, look, okay, I need to get this video out, and I need to get it out by this time so I can have it up and ready. And yeah, that time management is definitely my worst thing. I would much prefer to be out riding my bike than sitting in front of the
I think any of us with, you know, a full-time job outside of the channel, which is pretty much everybody on here, that is definitely a huge, huge thing. It's like, how do you manage between the channel and the work that you got to do with that, your own job, your relationship, your, you know, possibly if you have children, you know, it's just like, so it's definitely time consuming to be a YouTuber.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the more social channels you have, the more time consuming it is. People ask me this all the time. Oh, how did you get your Instagram so big? And the easiest way to explain it is I treated it like a full-time job. I was spending 8 hours a day. Like, I would upload my pictures, and then once that's done, I would go through the explore feed and find posts not from repost accounts. I would comment, like, engage with people I would like to be my audience. And eventually they all started following me and getting onto it. And I do the same with YouTube. I find channels that aren't yet discovered, and I leave comments, and yeah, you really have to treat it like a full-time job in order to get somewhere.
How about you, Eric?
I would say that my main challenge is editing. Like, I'm always really comfortable talking to people. I'm really outgoing. I make a lot of really bad jokes all the time. But I think one of my biggest issues is I can go out and record a trail from point A to point B and put together the most interesting pieces of that trail. But everybody can do that. So I think one of the most challenging things for me is being able to actually edit video footage and capture all these other angles and B-roll and all of that and tell a story. So I think time management I'm okay with. I'm not shy or anything like that. But for me, it's always like the whole package video needs to be entertaining.
Yeah, I definitely hear you there. I think, for me, I think it's always, it's definitely, it was initially editing. I think it still is, because I'm probably my own worst critic, and I'm just really never happy with anything. There's very few videos that I've edited that I was actually happy with when I uploaded them. And I think the time management thing, though, that John said actually speaks pretty true to me, because I'm also a procrastinator. And that's definitely like, I always feel like I work better under pressure. And that feeds into my procrastination, because I just want to wait till the last minute. And then when I have that pressure of, oh shit, dude, this week's almost over and I haven't put out a video yet, I need to get my ass into gear. And that's usually what it takes me to actually do that. I think moving on from that, how about rewards of having a channel that you didn't expect? Anybody? Who wants to go first?
Oh, I'll field this one first. Rewards of having a channel that I did not expect. Easily for me is all of these businesses that have come forward and said, would you like us to send you some of our product so we can get it out in front of all these other people? I never expected any of that. I wholly expected to get into this. I was expecting hard work and then having to convince people that their stuff should be shown in my stuff. I didn't expect them to come to me. And that is definitely a perk that I enjoy a lot.
John was, if you ever watch John's channel, or he would do some live streams with us, and he'd always have this like pile of boxes behind him. We would call it Box Mountain. So, because with his Instagram stuff, I think he's definitely he's getting a fair share of swag sent his way with no. I'm still working on my Box Mountain. I think it's equivalent to like a box. So it hasn't made it further than more than one. So how about you, James?
I mean, for me, honestly, it's been meeting the people that I've been able to meet. I came out hanging with you, Robert, and I mean, without YouTube, there's the chances of us ever meeting are probably slim to none, right? I mean, honestly, I had a great time and I got to meet you. In the last few weeks, I've had a bunch of rides that we've done with, people that actually watch the channel. I've gotten to ride with them and kind of hang out, and that's been awesome. Just kind of opening up the opportunities and the places that I can ride. And honestly, since YouTube, I'm living in a McMansion anyway. I'm just rolling the dough from YouTube, but that was never the goal to make $1 million off YouTube. But I mean, honestly, having some small sponsors and a few people that want to work with me, that's been a huge perk too. So I think one of my goals in the beginning was if YouTube could just kind of help pay for the hobby, that would be a huge thing. And my wife wouldn't complain so much about all these expensive bikes and stuff. And I think that's been a huge help too.
You know what else would help is if you sold your road bike, you'd have more money for mountain bikes.
Yeah.
But a comment about living in a mansion and things like that. I just thought of the best name for a channel of a guy who actually has the money, doesn't need to work or anything. Scrooge McHuck.
Oh, I'm signing up right now.
So, Eric, how about some rewards on your end? Something that you weren't necessarily expecting when you started.
For me, again, it's about the people. Just like James said, like I rode with him and RC from Outdoor Gold and Joseph and all these other people last week. John came here and I rode with him. You're the only person in the stream I haven't ridden with yet, and I really need to. But not only just the creators, like having someone approach me on my own local trails, like that's amazing. Somebody was like, "Oh, I found this because I saw your video about this place," and that's humbling to me. As well as having, like, as far as the adaptive athlete part goes, like having someone. I was just talking to a guy yesterday. He made some like SPD clip thing from a arm brace to go onto his bars, and just having all these people who are making do with how they were born or you know, like whatever their physical limitations are, and saying, you know, hey, I've saw your channel and you tried this. Have you tried this? Like that's super awesome to me. Like that's something that I didn't expect, is just all the random like Hail Mary emails, people reaching out to me just to like say what's up and try to show me a thing or two. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, the Boy Scouts video. Can't forget that.
I can definitely say that I never thought that I would inspire anybody. I'm not a fucking pillar of fitness. I'm not a badass rider. I'm just some dude that likes riding mountain bikes and apparently drinks too much beer, you know. And you get these emails, and I'm sure everybody's had them at this point, you know, like where people are like, hey, I was watching your video and it really inspired me to like do this, or it keeps me motivated. I've had some people like, oh man, I've been in the hospital because of X, Y, or Z, and just sitting here watching your videos, and they're like keeping me happy. And it's just like, dude, what the fuck, man? I'm a shitbag. Why are you guys fucking like writing me a letter like that, you know? And that was definitely something that took me by surprise. I really never thought, that wasn't like in my thought process when I started the channel, is that I would actually be like influencing people. You know, I just thought it would be cool to fucking get online and make videos, you know?
Yeah. But I think that's why people love you, mate, is you are the guy that everyone can relate to. Like you work all your hours in the week, and then you come home, you have a few beers, and then you decide to go for a ride, and you just happen to take your camera. So people definitely agree with you on that. Like, well, if he can do it, then yeah, I'm gonna give it a go.
Yeah, and I didn't think that, like I said, you know, at least for me, and I think everybody has, you know, their own niche or whatever that their channel falls into. I don't know, you know, I don't think any of us set out with the niche in mind, you know, and but I think Brian used to always say this on his channel, BKXC, is, you know, your people will find you. And that, I think, is key to what we're talking about here, about starting a channel and what kind of you go through. And by the way, those of you on the chat, if you guys want to ask us any questions, go ahead and start shooting them out now. I'm going to keep rambling for a minute or two, and then we'll grab some questions out of the chat and try to answer those as well. So, but like back to what I was saying is, you know, it definitely it's surprising how those people come to you. And it is also, this is one thing that I think is actually a question that I want to ask you guys. How do you deal with the negative people, or maybe people that have a sense of humor that you're not quite getting, on your comments and stuff like that in your social media?
Negative people, for me, I just ask them straight up, do you want to come ride with me? If people insinuate that I'm trying to put an angle on something that I'm not, I'm like, no, I never said I was the fastest guy on the earth. I never said I can wheelie for hundreds of feet or anything like that. No, hell no. I'm an average bloke. Somehow people like me. Just, you know,
James?
take the hate and throw it back.
Yeah, For me, Robert, I mean, you're always gonna get somebody that's, you know, a hater. I mean, unfortunately, not everybody likes, you know, everything you're about or whatever. But for the most part, everything that I've received when I've been doing the YouTube thing is, you know, I'm who I am genuinely. I just put myself out there. I'm not a different person off camera. There's no character here. So you either like me or you don't. And if you got something negative to say, I'm gonna feed it back. And generally, we do that. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I think, you know, everything has been positive. I think people on YouTube are out there because they're looking for things that they're interested in, and they follow upon your channel because it's something that they want to see. It's something that they follow. So, you know, outside of that, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're always going to get that person that kind of knocks you down a little bit, and it might take you back. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it's generally positive. You know? I think that's just how people are. You're always going to find that one person is just negative.
How about you, Eric?
I actually haven't found a whole lot. Maybe it's because I'm still fairly small. I just haven't found too many negative people, or maybe it's just because
wasn't there a guy? I want to say, wasn't there a guy that was saying you were like sandbagging and was like talking all kinds of trash to you, and then you were like, "Dude, I have one arm."
Yeah.
And he like switched gears on you or something.
Yeah, he was there. I do remember that guy. He was like, I put up a little teaser of a video where like I had just gotten my prosthetic and I was on some like crazy overgrown trail and I was bawling a lot. And he got really upset for some reason. It didn't really bother me. I just did the kill him with kindness thing. I was just like played super oblivious, like not getting mad. And he kept getting more and more mad because I was being nice. And then he didn't realize that I had one hand. And when I did the grand reveal, then he just completely changed his tune. So I felt a little guilty because he must have been like, he had this big backpedal moment where he was like, oh, well, okay, now I get it. But other than that guy, I haven't had too many people be negative. There's people that offer me advice. Sometimes I get a lot of the same things over and over as far as advice, like things I should do with my bike. But I can't be mad about that. These are people that want to help me become a better rider. So,
yeah, that's an interesting thing that you bring up there, and that is something that, especially if you're a channel that wants to respond to all your comments, which I think is in my opinion a must. I think if you're not engaging with your audience, they're going to go somewhere else where they are getting engaged, unless your videos are just phenomenally awesome, which most people, when they're starting out, they aren't. So, and I think all of us can go back and look at our first video or two, and we all cringe when we watch it, you know, and even sometimes it's only 5 videos ago and I'm still cringing. So, but
my first video I've got on my channel, if anyone wants to go and check it out, it is literally the first legitimate black trail that I went on. I stacked it, broke a couple of ribs, broke my shoulder. Yeah.
That's a pretty good way to start out a channel. Hey, check this out. I can't ride for 6 months. So I think for me with the haters, and maybe I don't get a whole lot of them because I'm kind of boisterous, you know, and people are like, I don't want to throw fucking chickens at the tiger, you know, but sometimes like, I don't know, that tends to be like my approach too, is like, I usually, if they're going to say something fucked up, I usually say something fucked up right back. And what I found out though, is a lot of times the things that I initially took as like, oh, that was kind of ignorant. Maybe it was like their sense of humor. And I find out through like kind of bantering back with them that they were just kidding. You know, it was just like, and I think that that's one of those things where it's like, especially when you have a dry sense of humor on your channel, expect to have a lot of other dry sense of humors commenting. Like your people will find you, so they're going to be a lot like you as well. So, you know, maybe not when you're reading that comment, maybe that day that you're reading it, you're not in the best mood, or, you know, something else went wrong at work and you look at it and it twists you a little bit, and maybe that's not necessarily what the person wanted, you know. I think one of the other things that I want to touch on here, just a little fun thing before we wrap it all up, is, hang on a second, yeah, is one of the hardest things I think for somebody like when because I've done websites in the past, and people will be like, oh, I want to start a website, and I always say the hardest part is choosing a domain name. And I think it's similar to the YouTube thing. So how did each one of you guys come up with the name for your channel? So we'll start out with you, John.
Well, obviously mine is because I work in IT, so therefore there's a geek part there. Mountain Bike Geek is mainly because I enjoyed geeking out about bikes, bike parts, going riding, filming. I love mountain biking. It's in my blood. It's what I do. I am a massive geek about it.
How about James?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, JF Rides, right? So it actually, JF Rides is my initials. So James Flanagan is actually the name my YouTube channel used to have. It's just, I put myself out there as myself. It's James Flanagan. That was my YouTube channel, and people could check it out. And kind of as it grew, it's like, yeah, I mean, I just want to kind of condense it. But I made it JF Rides because that's what I, right? It's a bunch of riding. But now everybody calls me Jeff.
You really didn't know you were changing your name whenever you decided to start.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So obviously I'm not marketing, but I mean that's kind of how my channel got its name. It was James Flanagan. I just reduced it to initials JF Rides, and that's kind of how that happened.
Eric?
I actually put a bunch of thought into it, and I had a short list of names, and I asked some like a local Facebook group and a local message board what works, and No Front Brakes just came out the clear winner. I did a little keyword research too. It took me a little bit to come up, be the first thing to come up for that term. A bunch of motorcycle stuff came up for a while. But yeah, I definitely thought a lot about it. Especially like branding and doing logos and figuring all that stuff out. But yeah, it's just stuff now.
You missed the part of the conversation that I was talking about, that I overly think things out, and I think you and I have a lot in common that way. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was the same thing, where I was designing the logo and everything before I even started the channel, because I knew that there had to be some branding that would make me stick out. And I wanted the name to be something that was easy to remember, and also easy because of my web background. I wanted to like have an easy domain name. So that's why I spelled it B1KER, was because it was easy to get biker like that doing the leet speak. And then off of that is really where I came with the slogan for the channel. Was, because I got that domain, I was like, how can I now make people remember how to spell biker incorrectly? So that's where it was like, hey, it only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one. B1 being the spelling. And I some little things that I didn't think about, at the time, was like, when I made my logo, I put the B1 at the top and the biker at the bottom, because I thought that just looked better that way aesthetically. And now everybody calls me B1. I didn't understand why people always call me B1 biker. And it was because like my logo, the way I made it, makes people think it's B1 biker. And I'm like, no, it's biker. I say it on every fucking video, God forgot. But so there's a couple good questions here up in the chat. One of them is, what was a key change or step that you took to hit and move past that first 100 subscribers? Or was it just a combination of known tactics? I think for me, I can say I just was continuing to put my video out anywhere that I could put it on the web. So that, and my usernames in all of those places were biker as well, or biker B1, because those of you guys that don't know like how algorithms and things work, when somebody's searching for something, if that name biker, like when you're posting it on Reddit or you're posting it on a forum, is attached to this video, those algorithms, when they're out there searching the web for stuff, they are putting that together. Hey, I'm seeing this name all over the place, and that will help to like draw that hit for what brings it up. But essentially, that first my channel was growing very slowly, and what I did was I stayed with the community like I was talking about earlier, and kept chatting on all the live streams, and then I reached out to Ryan and asked him if he would ride with me, and that was really what kicked my channel off from there. Eric?
I'm sorry. I started engaging with the chat and stuff. What do you say, shiny ball?
Yeah, exactly. So what the question was is, now you're fucking me, dude, because I can't remember what it was. It was oh no, the question was, how do you get over that first 100 subs? Was, you know, a combination of things, or what was it that really kind of blew you up?
Yeah, I started the first, I had a bunch of footage just like you talked about earlier, with like not starting your channel until you had like a logo and a slogan and all of that stuff. I started filming way before I started my channel. And then and from doing all that like market research stuff and like putting out the first couple videos, I knew what I was going to focus on right away, and that was going to be like showing my local trails and maybe somehow spinning the hand thing in there. And so I had a bunch of subscribers early on, but the one thing that's really helped me just grow and keep at it is just cadence. Like, I knew that the more places I go, the more trail systems I film, the more consistent I am with putting out a video. Now it's once a week, but it used to be twice a week. That's what's really going to grow. That's what's going to keep people coming back, because they're going to keep checking. They know what time to expect things. Right now it's Thursdays. But yeah, I think that just consistency and being dependent. I mean, you're obviously on the other side of the spectrum, where you're just like, when I film something and get it done, it's going to go out. But for me, that's what worked for me.
Yeah, I think for me, I definitely try to make sure that I'm releasing a video a week, and but I definitely don't have a set time. And I will tell you that I'm also a person that learns things the hard way, and I'm definitely starting to see certain times that I release definitely don't do as well as other times. Like, for instance, when I really lag, it'll be Friday. Mm-hmm. And Fridays actually really don't do well. You would think people are at work on Friday kind of like bullshitting their way through the last part of the day like I do. I mean, like somebody that I might know, my friend does. And we think that they you know, that putting a video out on Friday, you know, would get a lot of views from that. And honestly, like, that day for me is just like, my videos get crappy views whenever I do that. And I think there's something that like happens with YouTube when your video doesn't start out doing well, it doesn't push you out to other places very well then either. So how about you guys? James?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Robert, I think that's totally it, dude. I mean, I was trying to do the early morning releases, so I would kick my videos off at like 4 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and those would generally do pretty good. So people would probably get them before they went to work or that type of thing. What I've actually noticed that's been working for me now is trying to kick out videos somewhere around like lunchtime. So people could be at work. We don't really know what they're doing, but like if you kick it around noon, I do it Mountain Time just because that's where I'm at. I get way more viewership right off the bat, and then that video seems to continue to kind of grow. So that's just kind of what worked for me. Another thing that I kind of noticed too is seasonal. So like in the winter months when I was putting out videos, it didn't really matter when I was pushing them out. I would get a lot of views really fast. And now I'm noticing that doesn't really matter during the summertime here, at least in North America. I mean, it seems like my views have kind of gone down a little bit. So who knows? It's kind of a magic equation, I guess. I don't really know.
John?
For me, if it's like Instagram posts, usually around 6 a.m. mark for me here in Australia. That's usually when I get the best engagement. YouTube, however, it's sporadic. I can release them anywhere. As long as I get that promotion out, I'm going to get views. I'm still chasing after people to subscribe to my channel, though. That's the big niggly.
So I see Dad Bod Biker asked if we ever just go out and ride when, or are we always filming? And then he asked if we ever, if it affects our enjoyment of riding. I think for me, I've heard other YouTubers say that it's freeing not to have the camera. I don't really notice the difference when I have the camera on or off, other than having to change fucking batteries. So I do ride without my camera, but it's usually just because I'm like, I have too much fucking footage already, and if I film one more goddamn thing, I'm gonna lose my shit. You know. So,
Yeah.
how about you guys? I see you laughing at me. Is that a similar equation?
Yeah, I mean, so
I was laughing at your whole "you're going to lose your shit" because you got the footage thing. No, I find it freeing, to be honest, going for a ride and then without a camera. Just do it.
I mean, for me, it's like you kind of got to know when to put the camera down. Listen, I'm doing YouTube because, you know, I love doing video work and I love being out riding. But I think it's kind of a balance. It's like, you know, me and Eric and a bunch of other people, we did a bunch of group rides over the last few weeks. And yeah, battery changes and like gimbal problems and all that stuff. It can get in the way of a good ride. So sometimes, you know, you kind of have to step back and put the camera down. I don't think that everything that, let's say, I ride ends up on video. So I know some of the videos that I did with like RC from Outdoor Gold and, you know, Eric from No Front Brakes, sometimes I go out without the camera and maybe it's just Eric from No Front Brakes recording, you know, maybe that's his video for the week. But yeah, I think you kind of have to find that balance. Totally.
So I like Brian BKXC's idea when, you know, people come to visit him, or if he goes to visit someone else, and one day it'll be Brian, the next day it'll be whoever he's riding with, and then Brian again. So you're getting days where you don't have to run the camera.
Yeah, for sure.
I think for me, and I don't know about you guys, like, and I think there was a question about this, about how do you storyboard out your stuff or plan your rides and stuff like that. And for me, like, I actually have no idea what the story of my video is until I'm editing it. So like, I go out and the story is my ride and whatever I just so happen to talk to the camera about. So I think that I guess that's the point of what I was getting at with the camera. Like, I don't feel it. I don't really worry about the battery changes and stuff like that, because I want to capture like all that stupid shit that happens. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm not one of those people that's like overly freaking like, this ride has to be a mash it up ride either. So it doesn't bother me taking the breaks.
Yeah, I really appreciate people whose brains work different than me, as far as like being able to storyboard and script or like plan out their shots before they go. My brain just doesn't work that way. What I typically do is kind of like what you do, where I'm always looking for opportunities on like things that I want to catch while I'm out there. Like if something happens and we're all going to session something, I'm going to think about, you know, making sure that we're all filming, you know, a bunch of people hitting like a rock ledge or whatever it might be. But I'm not gonna write it all down beforehand. And then what happens is when I get home, I remember the one or two things that I think were crucial moments during that ride that I'm going to frame the rest of the video around, right? Things, you know, like a build up point, like for the one that all of us are going to put out this week, including I think James will too, for our ride at the Monarch Crest. I nailed my shin. I had the worst shindigger that I've ever had on a bike, and so that's the end of part one for the video. That was like the even though the scenery is beautiful, that's like the one thing that I was like, well, that happened. So
yeah, that was a big shindigger though.
It was gross.
That thing was horrible. You guys have to watch the video.
So here's a good one here that I seen this guy pop up on my Instagram the other day too, and his name is actually pretty clever. It's Toogie Hauser MTB. So anyways, he's asking, do you guys worry about running out of content? or if you get injured or busy and can't ride for a few weeks, that you'll lose your momentum. Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I stopped doing 2 a week. It's too stressful. It's too much to worry about whether you're going to have 2 videos every week and be able to spend all the time where all of a sudden something big comes up at your work or whatever, and you don't have the time to edit it. Like, I just don't like thinking about like worrying about that part of it. So I do 1 a week, and I try to have a backlog. I had that hard drive failure a while ago that reset me back to 0. But as it is right now, I have like 2 to 3 months worth of videos backlogged, and that's nice. That's a nice problem to have, because it means that you can go out and do a ride and enjoy the ride for just the ride, instead of like, what's my story here? So yeah, I like to keep a good backlog.
James?
Totally. I mean, I think, for me, I'm kind of the same boat as Eric. My original intent was to like do like 2 videos a week, and I probably ride, 4 to 5 times per week, but be able to capture that video and turn that into something that's usable on YouTube, it's work. It's kind of a tough job, and for me, I've kind of gone back to that 1 a week type of thing. I try to just make a story with that, and there's a lot of people out there that are doing 3 or 4 videos per week, and I think that's awesome. But I'm the same way. I have a 9-to-5 job. I have a wife and family obligations. So 1 a week for me is great. I think occasionally I'll throw out more than 1, but that's kind of my goal, and to really make that 1 video a week worthwhile, worth people's time. I think that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah, I was doing more than 1 video a week initially too, and my goal was only 1, but I was pretty consistently doing about 2, and or 1 every couple of days. So maybe it was like 3 every 2 weeks or something like that. And I definitely noticed that I needed to pull back a little bit to get a little bit better on to spend a little bit more time on my edits, to be able to learn more and not be like rushing it out as much. And then, but to go back to the question about running out of content, I'm actually the opposite. I hate having a backlog. Every time I do end up with about a month or so of backlog, what I end up doing is just stopping recording, because for me, when I do a ride and I go home and then that's what I'm starting to edit, it's really easy for me to remember everything that happened on that ride. So I remember like, oh yeah, I said something stupid climbing up that hill. And I remember making some jokes whenever I was going down this one section. And I remember like talking to so-and-so in front of that tree. And whenever a lot of time goes by, what happens is then I end up having to watch the entire like 3 hours of ride almost at like regular speed to be able to remember what happened. And then it makes my editing process longer. And then on top of that, it makes like I lose my interest in that ride, because I really want to do like the edit for the ride that I just did yesterday. And so I like having that backlog for the ability to have some time off. But on the other hand, I don't like it because it's not motivating for me. The other part of the question was, am I ever worried about running out of content? And I wanted to touch on that, because when I initially started, I thought I had to ride a different trail on every video. And I came to find out that you don't. It's a story. And you just have to remember, figure out what that story is this time. Like maybe this, for instance, yesterday I rode a new trail, but I could have had that exact same experience on one of my local trails, and it would have been the same story, which was, hey, I haven't ridden in a month. This is really going to fucking blow. And that's really what the story is about, I think the content, though, as you start to create the ideas for content, they just come out of the woodwork, where you're like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. Oh, I want to do a video on this. Or I want to do a video on this. Oh, I can go over there. Oh, I forgot I can talk to that person. That would be really, they really just start kind of building upon themselves. You guys agree?
I think so. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about in the beginning, it's like, you know, trying to develop your style, your channel and things like that. Like, again, mine was just straight up POV. I'd put the camera on, I'd go out and ride, but kind of as I've been growing, it's like, you know, how do I make this more interesting or more valuable to the viewer? So is there a little scripting that happens, that type of thing? Like, I think, Robert, you're probably headed out to maybe Interbike here, I think, next month probably. And
yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, you can do a lot of huge things with that. I can't wait to see those videos.
I actually am pretty good at just like walking up and talking to people. But man, Sedona was my first time of doing that with a camera in my hand. And that was awkward for me. It was really awkward for me to be able to, because dude, people freak out when they see a camera, man. Especially when they see that little red fucking dot, you know, and also like for you, like as a person starting a channel, like every one of us now, you have no problem taking your GoPro out and standing in a group of people and being like, hey, this is what's going on. Blah, 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 blah. But the first time you get out of your fucking truck and you're standing at a trailhead and there's like 12 other people there that you don't know, and you're going to just take a camera out and start talking to yourself, you feel like a fucking weirdo, dude. Like, you know, and like to go and do that at a convention where there's like hundreds of people and a bunch of other people that probably want to ask some kind of like real question. You're like, you're on camera, like, hey, check me out. Oh, well, you know, like.
Robert, I hate to bust that bubble. You said hundreds of people? Let's try tens of thousands of people in Interbike.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, when you're standing there, like when I was in Sedona, you're just like, what's right there? It's like that's how many eyes are right there, you know? Like, it's even as a person who has no problem talking to people, it was really hard for me. And I think what I did in Sedona, which is going to try to be my attack in Interbike, is go through and meet people and then tell them, hey, you mind if I come back by with my camera and talk to you again? And then that way they're aware that I'm coming and they know kind of what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that all plays into, you know, I mean, starting a YouTube channel, it's like you have to be adaptable. Your style is going to change, your video, you know, how you, whether or not you scripted or you just did POV. I think, you know, all that stuff kind of evolves. And I think that's kind of the part of the fun of having a YouTube channel. It's like, we can do all these cool things once you get that channel and that ball rolling. It's like, the options are endless. It just becomes more fun.
So I'm going to take one more question, and I think then we can wrap it up. I see CBYR asks, how long did it take you guys to hit 1,000 subs? So I'm going to ramble about that for a second before I turn it over to you guys. I think that this is the biggest problem with YouTube and being a creator, is being stuck on how many subscribers you have or how many you're getting to. It's like, you know, when I had my son, I was always so focused on like when he would sit up or when he would say his first words or when he would take his first steps. And now that he's moved out of my house because he's 18 and an adult, you really look back and you're like, man, I should have just enjoyed the time that I was having at the time that I was at. And I think that's the same with the channel. Enjoy the people that are right in front of you. Like, just enjoy your channel. It will grow on its own and in the time that it's supposed to. Me, even though I can say that, I still am fixated on numbers all the fucking time. I think I was about 6 months into my channel. I was at 400 subscribers, and that's when I reached out to Brian from BKXE because he said he would always ride with people, and I asked him if he would do Downeyville with me, and that was when I did my first biker event. And so that video that I did with him, not my video, but he actually did a video with me and his, that put me up over 1,000. So it took me 6 months, but if I would have kept tracking at the rate that I was at, I mean, I would have been a year before I was even at 800. So I think that the key to what I'm saying is don't necessarily focus on the number, just focus on your content and focus on enjoying that moment. One last thing before I ask say to the rest of you guys, there's some things that I saw or I heard Seth talk about on his, like one of his podcasts or something like that. And he was like, You know, when you have this many subs, it's so fun and easy to interact. And, you know, can you imagine the amount of comments that he's getting at, you know, almost 1 million subscribers? He may be at a point where, you know, it's just improbable. It's like impossible to have that kind of relationship with your subscribers. So I'm really trying to do my best to enjoy it right now, that I can recognize the guys that are on here commenting, and I can really like enjoy that part of it. However, YouTube with its fucking restrictions definitely pisses me off when I'm like, I want to be able to do what you get at 100,000 subs, and I want to be able to do what you can get at 10,000 subs, and it just seems like a lifetime away. So it's easy to focus on. How about you guys? So how long did it take you to get to 1,000 subs, Eric?
It took me about 6 months, but I think right at that point, that's when they made the requirement for monetizing. So I was chasing that number. But everything since then, I haven't really chased a whole lot of numbers, just because of what you said. Like, I'm at 3,100 and something. Like, what's the difference between that and 2,500? Like, there's not a lot. Just means that more people found me, I guess. And I also am the same way. I respond to every comment, so I'm not looking forward to the time when I can't respond to everybody. Yeah. So 6 months.
How about you, John?
Mine, I was about 200 subs when I really started getting into YouTube in January. And I was at 1,000 subs by the end of March.
So, but you also have a very good, you know, you have a platform to be bouncing off of. I think is important to mention. Those of you that may not have been here since the very beginning, he has an Instagram channel that has 90,000 plus or followers on that. So that definitely helps. But also, as some other people that I've talked to through my time of doing YouTube, another platform doesn't necessarily mean they all just move over. Obviously, you didn't take that and just, you know, overnight be able to get to. I mean, I would think, you know, if I was not a person that does social media, I would think if I had an Instagram channel that had 90,000 followers, that I'd be able to start a YouTube channel and have like half of that in like a week, you know?
Yeah. No, I think what helped me a lot was I jumped in on a lot of these kind of streams. I chat to all of the various YouTube guys and just shoot the shit really. And being on your streams helped a lot. I know that for a fact, but yeah, I was still pretty impressed to hit the 1,000 mark by the end of 3 months.
James?
Yeah, so for me, Robert, I think, you know, to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark was probably, it took me about 8 months. And yeah, I mean, that was never really the goal, but yeah, it took about 8 months of just kind of people, you know, finding me through whatever means kind of came up. I think a lot of it, you know, like John was saying, was just being involved and, you know, being on your live streams for sure, you know, putting up with my technical difficulties and that type of stuff. So I appreciate that. But honestly, listen, I mean, it's not about the subscriber numbers anyway for me. I just like what I'm doing and I'm going to continue doing it. So yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. And
yeah, definitely. I appreciate all you guys being on as well. I mean, it definitely took some time out of your Sunday to come out here and hang out with me. I want to throw out a special thanks to the people that I saw throw up some super chats there while we were chatting. None of them were directly a question or anything like that, so I didn't speak about them at the time. But in closing, like I said, you know, I really appreciate you guys getting on here. Anybody out there that's thinking about a channel, you know, starting a channel, I think the best advice, like I said earlier, is what Jordan Boostmaster said: just start. So that's really the best advice, and from there you'll learn what you're doing wrong, and you'll learn whether or not you even like it, and then you can just go from there. I really appreciate everybody that came from everywhere else to come hang out with us as well, and look forward to you guys next Sunday. at 5 p.m. PST again for the next episode of the Biker Bar. So we'll talk to you guys then. It only takes a bike to be a biker. Get the fuck out and be one, bitches.